The Mall of America opened in Bloomington, Minnesota on August 11, 1992. This massive shopping center took the place of the old Metropolitan Stadium, where the Vikings and the Twins played until 1981. It's become a landmark for the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, with 40 million visitors every year. When the mall opened its doors, it included an entire indoor theme park. This was called Knott's Camp Snoopy. The park was themed to the Peanuts comic strip, with a giant inflatable Snoopy in the middle of the park, but the park in general had a woodsy outdoor theme, kind of like the Camp Snoopy areas of some of the current Cedar Fair parks. In 2006, the mall had a dispute with Cedar Fair, who owned the rights to the Peanuts branding, and Camp Snoopy was no more. It was called the park at MOA for over a year, and then they announced a new branding in the summer of 2007. The park was to be called Nickelodeon Universe, and 7 months after the transformation began, it was complete on March 15, 2008. I finally made my first trip to the Minnesota parks in the summer of 2021, and I got to ride all the coasters at the park. This is my experience at the Mall of America's Nickelodeon Universe on Sunday, July 11th, 2021. First off, if you can drop a like on this video, I'd appreciate it. It helps me out with the YouTube algorithm. My summer 2021 road trip was jam-packed full of parks, so I couldn't use a whole day for the Mall of America. This park is only about 15 minutes from Valley Fair, so in the middle of my day there, I went to the mall to ride all the coasters and leave. I didn't get more than one ride on anything. I didn't get to ride the flat rides, but I did get on their 4 major coasters, and I got to walk around the whole park. I was there for about 2 hours. Just keep that in mind if you're more familiar with the park, and if some of my observations seem weird. The first great thing about this park, especially for me who was on a big time crunch, is the park is right by the parking structure. We parked, walked into the mall, and I was thinking we were gonna have to walk like a half a mile to get to the park. But as soon as the doors opened, I can see the park right there. We just had to take the escalator 3 floors down to find the entrance. Unlike the Nickelodeon universe and American Dream, you don't have to pay a single price admission for unlimited rides. You can buy ride tickets, but only in specific quantities. I needed 48 tickets to ride the 4 coasters. Those charged $6 apiece for 2 people, so the 54 ticket package was the best for me, and I paid about $57. $6 for each of their major rides is not bad at all. You can do this all at a kiosk. Once you pay, it spits out a wristband with a barcode on it, and that's what the ride ops scan. The problem was, these wristbands didn't have anything sticky on them. There was no way to actually put them on. I was thinking, maybe I'm just an idiot and I don't know how to do this, but everyone else was carrying them around also. It seems like if this is your system, you're much better off giving everyone a card they can just put in their wallet. I ended up sticking this long skinny band in my pocket, and every time we rode something, I had to dig it out and unfold it. Okay, enough about that. Let's talk about the coasters. Our first stop was our standout coaster, SpongeBob SquarePants Rock Bottom Plunge. This is a Gerstlauer Eurofighter, one of the 2 major coasters added when the park became Nickelodeon Universe in 2008. We were on a huge time crunch, and this park was pretty packed. The line for SpongeBob was long, and with those 8-person cars, I was worried it was going to take forever. But that line kept moving, using those 2 cars and getting quick dispatches, and we got on in less than 20 minutes. It wasn't the worst line to be stuck in either. It was a good spot to shoot some footage. Before I even got there, all I heard was that SpongeBob was rough. Indoor coasters usually aren't rough, but this is a Gerstlauer, and it was 13 years old when I rode it. So yeah, maybe it was going to be rough, but I rode it, and it wasn't rough at all. I don't even remember any rough patches. It was smooth, compact, and intense. It has such an insanely small footprint, but Gerstlauer crammed in a bunch of different elements. The 74.5-foot, 97-degree drop is a great start. The vertical loop delivers some crazy positive Gs. Then you got elements like an overbank turnaround, a barrel roll, and a helix, all within 1,371 feet of track. That much track, and all those elements, in that little corner of the park. That's about as good as you're gonna get. I don't love those big Gerstlauer over-the-shoulder restraints, but they don't hurt the ride experience. I went in expecting the worst, and I got a pleasant surprise. This is the best coaster in the park. Next up was Avatar Airbender, the other major coaster added when the park became Nickelodeon Universe. I always wanted to ride one of these intimate half-pipes, but when I went to Elitch Gardens, it was down, and when I went to American Dream, it was testing all day but never opened. This time, I would finally get on. It was another long line, but these have halfway decent capacity, 12 riders per car, and the ride cycle is pretty short. We ended up waiting about 20 minutes for this also, just more time for me to grab footage. That's the advantage of cramming all these rides into a small space. There's always something happening around you. Anyway, I thought this was a super fun ride. It kind of reminded me of one of those pendulum rides, just in coaster form. The spinning was just right, not too fast to make it chaotic or nauseating, but just enough to give you some different angles on the vertical spikes. Sometimes you were backwards, sometimes forward, sometimes sideways. It's a great ride for a small park or an indoor park that'll basically take up no land. My one and only complaint is the way the cars would spin. There was kind of a back and forth instead of a seamless spin. It made it a little uncomfortable, but nothing to really hurt the ride experience. I'd put this as the second best coaster in the park. we moved on to a coaster that I'm very familiar with, the Fairly Odd Coaster. I'd never ridden it, but I've ridden its clone many times. It's a Gerstlauer spinning coaster. You may know it better as Pandemonium at a bunch of Six Flags parks, or Spinning Dragons at Worlds of Fun. This goes back to the Camp Snoopy days, opening in 2004, and it was called Timberland Twister, similar but not quite the same as the kiddie coaster at Knott's. I thought it was really cool they got this clone into the park, and it fits in with all the surroundings very seamlessly. The line was long, and the cars only hold 4 people, but I think they had 4 cars going, so this capacity was just about the same as SpongeBob. I thought the line went really quick. I love these rides, and if you can get a ride with nobody across from you, it's pure chaos. On this ride, I unfortunately had people sitting on the other side, so it wasn't as crazy. The best part is those drops after the last mid-course. If you take those at the right angle, you lose your stomach. Add in the spinning factor, and it's a near-perfect sequence of elements. I had one problem with the Fairly Odd Coaster, and that was the roughness. Of all the Gerstlauer spinners that I've ridden, this was the roughest, and that's weird considering it's indoors. I wouldn't call it a rough ride, but it was noticeable, and it was weird to feel on an indoor coaster. I'm really surprised that I left the park thinking SpongeBob was smooth, but Fairly Odd Coaster wasn't. I put this third in the park. The last coaster we rode was also the most mild, the Park Original, Pepsi Orange Streak. Pepsi has sponsored this ride from the start, being named Pepsi Ripsaw through the Camp Snoopy years, but changing to a more Nickelodeon-friendly name when the park was rethemed. This is by far the longest coaster in the park at 2,680 feet, and it serves as a nice tour around the park. This was by far the longest line in the park. You have to walk up the stairs to the second level, and the switchbacks were full up there. This only has one train going, but what a train. 15 cars, 30 people total. That kept this line moving in big chunks. The cars sit 2 people side by side, but just be warned, those cars are small. 2 adults at or exceeding 200 pounds will have a hard time cramming in there. Take my word for that one. It can be done, but you may want to plan accordingly and take separate rows if possible. This is a Zero Tivoli. Think Jaguar, just before Jaguar was a thing. It reaches a max height of 60 feet, lists the max drop at 40 feet, and hits a top speed of 30 miles per hour. It's definitely a mild ride, and that's fine. This is the only truly mild coaster in the park, not counting the kids ride, and the way it tours the park is awesome. There's also a nice, unexpected indoor cave section where the log flume is, right before you hit that second lift hill in the back of the park. Don't pass this up as just some family ride. I really enjoyed it, but I have to put it 4th place in the park. If this is your worst coaster, that's a good lineup. Combine this with Valley Fair, and I don't think you have a bad coaster in the whole state. Good on you, Minnesota. You may not have an ultra elite coaster, but you also don't have any flops. I should mention, back at the Barnyard Hayride, I did not ride this. I didn't even see this. I didn't have any intention to ride it. It's a Zamperla powered coaster. It barely even changes elevation with that tiny oval layout. This is a really sad credit if you have it, so maybe leave this one for the kids. That being said, I have ridden its clone at Silverwood, so I guess I won't pass any judgment on this one. So in just about 2 hours, I was able to get on all the rides and get a ton of footage, and get back to Valley Fair for the last 90 minutes they were open. All of these rides have potential capacity problems, with one train on Avatar and Orange Streak, and small cars on SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Coaster. But even on a busy Sunday afternoon, I waited 20 minutes for every ride. Good on the park for keeping those lines moving. The park itself is beautiful, so many rides going on at once, all intertwining with each other. Doing all this without seeming cluttered. It's cool to just stand there on the 3rd floor and look at the park from the outside. It's really well done. So how does this park stack up with a sister park in New Jersey? The biggest difference between the two is the admission. At American Dream, you'll be paying around $49 to $79 per person for unlimited rides. And even if you just want to pop in for the last 2 hours of the night, it'll still cost you $39 to $55. At the Mall of America, you have the option to pay per ride, and it's about $6 per ride. On those peak admission days, you'd have to ride 13 rides at American Dream before you saw any value for your all-day pass. Since I didn't have a lot of time, the ticket system was great for me. You do get forced into buying certain ticket packages, so you may have tickets left over like I did, but luckily it was close enough for me not to care. I got the 54 ticket option, and the other one I saw available was over 100. Now that I look at their website, they have a lot more flexibility than I saw in the kiosk. You can go from 3 points all the way to 84 points. If you wanted to get unlimited rides, you can, and it'll only run you $44.99 on a peak day and $39.99 on a non-peak day. That's not a big gap. Unlike American Dream, where on those dead off-season weekdays, you can get in for $49, but you could be paying up to $79. You can also get a season pass here and pick between 3 different tiers, ranging from $175 to $350. These lineups are also very similar. Nickelodeon Slime Streak is like Pepsi Orange Streak. SpongeBob is like Shellraiser, even though Shellraiser is much better. They both have a half pipe, and they both have a Gerstlauer spinner. American Dream does have Sandy's Blasting Bronco. When that's open, that's a nice trump card to play. The Mall of America has no answer for that. Because of this, and Shellraiser being such an elite ride, you could argue American Dream is worth the extra money. Just try to make sure those rides are open before you pay that admission, and avoid the mistake that I made this past summer. That's gonna do it for the Mall of America's Nickelodeon universe. Let me know what you think of this park, if you prefer this one or the one at the American Dream Mall, and if you have any other thoughts on the coasters or the park itself, sound off in the comments below. Before you go, be sure to drop a like and give me a sub for more content just like this, and check out my playlist for other park reviews on my channel. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my new channel, Home Run Productions, for all things baseball. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.